Good morning everyone. I welcome you back again in the Mini MBA series, day 2. I'm thankful to MBRY.in for organizing this event and Taxila Business School for sponsoring the event. So let's begin with, I have taken a very important and a very interesting topic today. And this topic goes with the kind of brands we have in the market and the companies generating these brands. See, every one of us, we all understand that the companies, they come up with the different product lines. And as a result, it is very important for the company to focus on each and every product they come up with. And with a series of product lines, they give a brand name to each of these series. Let's discuss about what comes in your mind when you think about a brand. What comes in your mind when you think about a company? And how do you really feel that the company is different from a brand? It takes a lot of pain to develop a brand. I hope you will all understand that. Companies are rigorously trying and putting up their efforts to make it, outstand in the market, to make it different from all the competitors. How are they creating this brand? Come on everyone, be participative. I want you to stay interactive with me, right? Kindly make this session as interactive, as enriching as we can. What comes in our mind whenever we think about a brand? The brand is telling us a story, right? Brand is creating a trust. The brand is creating a confidence. Yesterday I came up with a statement. We can actually refer to that statement to understand the exact concept of branding here. The statement says, I want people to talk about me even when I'm not there in the room. I want people to think about me even when I'm not there in the room. What does that really mean to us? That simply means that I want people to discuss about me. I want people to think about me. I want people, I want myself to be in their mind. That is what is a brand. So I have actually established myself and connected with those peoples, right, in terms of branding. That's where the branding is all about. It's not, if you go to a definition, they would always say that, the kind of a logo which you give, maybe a design which you give, or maybe the color theme which you use, that defines the overall concept of branding. I do understand. That's what the branding is. But when people are discussing about you, they have built up a trust in you. They have built up a confidence in you. So we are discussing about this branding concept, right? There are a few things. This is a very important quotation I really wanted to bring here, being stated by Scott Cook, the co-founder of Intuit. A brand is no longer what we tell the consumer. It is what the consumers tell us each other it is. So I'm not telling my consumers what my brand is, right? How would they believe me? They really need to try it. They really need to believe on those people whom they really look up to. So when these consumers, they are talking with each other, that's where your brand proposition has been clearly and specifically established in the market. Very rightly said by Scott Cook. Your brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business. And if you're making the right kind of investment in order to build up your brand, let me tell you students, you are done actually, right? It is going to give you the long life, the sustainability in the market, because people are going to recognize you with your brand name. The brand and the companies, they're quite different from each other. Sometimes we do not even go back and look at which company is offering me this brand. We look at the brand because that's how we correlate ourselves with the brand. Right? The brands, they are building up the stories and we feel emotionally connected with them, right? So that's where, because the brand is very specific, it is dealing with some specific line of product and it is easy for us to connect with that product. The company comes up with a diverse portfolio of product lines and it is very difficult sometimes for the consumers to get connected with the company the way they can actually get themselves connected with the brand, right? I will definitely come how we are going to distinguish these two in my coming up presentation. But right now what you have to understand is, if your brand is positioned well in the mind of consumers, right, that positioning would establish the emotional connect with your consumers, right? The branding is all about what is there in the consumer's mind. I'm not talking about branding in terms of its logo. I'm not talking about the branding in terms of its, the entire, investment which you make in its design or maybe in its color theme and all. Of course, these factors and points are equally relevant, right? But that emotional connect is all the more relevant. That's what we are talking about, right? So products are made in the factory, but the brands are created in the mind. That's what we were discussing about. The Walter Lander, founder of Lander Associates, have given the statement that you have to actually play with the consumer's mind. We've been talking about this right from the beginning when we started our marketing presentations, right? We are looking at positioning our brand, positioning our product in the mind of consumers. Once you establish yourself, so there can be a collaboration of both the things, right? I do not say that brand is the only thing which makes and identifies and that's how it is known for without the name of the company and the backup. But there can be amalgamation of two different things here. One is you know the brand. The another one is you know the brand by the company. And the another one is the company is known by the brand it has created. So it goes all together, right? Okay, so it's clear in our mind that it's very essential for us to think about a brand. These are some of the studies, when I was reading a lot about branding, these are the studies I came across and I thought I would actually bring it in your knowledge. People say that authenticity is very important because as I said that when we build up a connection, how do we build up that connection? How do we actually stay connected with our audience? That means my consumers. How is it that my consumers, they really find my brand to be authentic or something which is genuine, right? This all comes with the authenticity which is important for the brands. 88% of the consumers say that authenticity is a key factor and based on this, they trust the brand. It's all about trust. It is all about confidence. It is all about believing in the brand. And how is this belief coming in? When we really find the brand to be authentic. That means whatever offering has been made by the company, I really believe in that offering. If the company tells me that this is the composition of my product, I believe the company. If the company tells me about the features, I believe the company. I believe the brand. So it is basically about authenticity. I find the company or the brand to be authentic because I have a trust in the brand. I have the belief in the brand. And that's how, and that's where we can say that the company has been successful in creating that brand positioning in the mind of consumer. I'm again repeating my statement that we're all talking about how it is positioned in the mind of consumers. See the study which has come by Salsify in 2022. 46% of the consumers in United States say that they would pay more to purchase from brands they can trust. It's all about trust, right? I would be trusting the brand and that makes me buy the brand. That makes me repeatedly buy the brand. So I become the loyal consumer of that particular brand. Now, according to the Reboot 2018, using a signature color can increase the brand recognition by 80%. This is a very important factor because when we started discussing about it, right, we say that these are some of the features, the company, they work on. Either it is your logo, your design, your color theme, and so on. Sometimes we recognize the brand, right? It's a way to recognize it, maybe by its logo. So you don't have to see anything else, whether the name is written or no, but logo is more than enough. If you see the next study, it says, according to the 8 Ways 2019, it takes about 15 milliseconds, right, for people to form an opinion about your website. We always say the first impression really matters. The way the brand is presented, it really matters. So when you come up with a message, when you come up with an advertisement, when you try to, portray your brand or position your brand in the mind of consumers, you should be very, very careful in making your first impression. If that goes wrong, I think, you will not be able to rectify and correct it in the times to come. It takes really lot of time to correct your brand image. It's about the first impression. See, these are some of the studies which have been talking about. It's very important for me to make you understand that how relevant it is for us to know about the brands. How relevant it is, for us to see that the brands are positioned very well. Okay, so see, your brand needs to be transparent. Why are we talking about transparency here? When the brands are transparent, we believe more on the brands, right? Transparent means that they are trying to give you as much of information as it is required to be given, and the consumers, they have the necessity, they have a demand of procuring some level of information from a company, and that is coming from a company. So you need to be transparent. You need to tell them everything about your product. You need to tell them everything about your compositions, and that's where 74% of the consumers, they say if the brand is transparent, and when there is a transparent communication, right, it has actually become important after COVID-19 pandemic. So I really want to be very sure that the right kind of a message in a right way has been communicated to me. Consumers, they want the brands to be vocal about their social issues. 64% of the consumers worldwide said that they would buy a product or a brand or boycott it solely because it's positioned on a social or a political issue, right? So the brands, they need to be very, very careful. So you're talking about the political issues, you're talking about the brand to be transparent, right? You're talking about maybe whenever you make a purchase, you're making your decision based on certain criteria. And that's where 94% of the consumers say a brand's treatment of its consumers influences their decision to purchase. You really want the brands to think about you. See, again, let me correlate it with what happened in COVID-19 pandemic, right? The brands, the hand wash companies, they started saying, we don't want or we do not emphasize on that which brand has to be used by you or which hand wash has to be used by you. It is about that you should be using any soap or a hand wash, right? But you should always keep yourself hygienic. Keep washing your hands, right? So that's where the consumers realized that it's not about the companies telling them to buy their product, but the companies telling them to buy a hand wash or a soap just to stay safe. So that's where the consumers realize that the companies are thinking about them, and it's very important. 77% of the consumers, they buy the brands, they actually, see that how many values, basically the companies look forward to. You are there in the society and you're supposed to give back to the society. So you want your brands to share the same values as they do. So I would actually look up to the brand which is according to my values. So there are so many consumers, a good percentage of the consumers which say the values really matter to them, right? So, some kind of criteria, they are kept in mind before a consumer takes a decision, right? Again, some of the studies here, I would just say that maybe you can refer to these studies later on, but I have taken a lot of sources to make you understand that strong branding can increase a company's market value up to 20%. My only purpose of bringing all these studies in your knowledge, right, is just to make you understand that brand is playing and the branding process is playing a very, very important role. And it might really help your company to increase their market value, or maybe you can say the entire, maybe when you talk about the stock prices in the market, this kind of a branding decision, it plays a very, very important role. 59% of the consumers prefer to buy products from the brands they are familiar with. Purpose-driven brands outperform the stock market by 120%. This is a study which came from Deloitte. I'm not going to pick up all the studies, but just to make you understand that there are a lot of things the companies intend to do with their branding process, because they know it very well, whether it is about their stock market position or it is about their total shareholder values and returns. The branding would definitely play a very important role. So let's talk about these brands here. So how many of you really think that Apple, Nike, Coca-Cola, Google, Amazon, Lego, Airbnb and so many other brands have actually established themselves as a, you can say good brands in the market, some popular brands in the market, or the brands which are easily recalled in the market? How many of you really think? And why do you see, and why do you say that basically that these are the popular brands? These are the brands which always come at the top of our mind. These are definitely the brands, right? And these are the brands which come easily, we can recall about them. So if I'm taking a decision to buy a shoe, definitely Nike would be in my shopping list, right? If I talk about any aerated cold drink, definitely I might be thinking about Coca-Cola, right? Or maybe some other brands in the aerated line. So this is going to be in my shopping list, right? Similarly with Google and Amazon. So you know, when a consumer, he visits a retail outlet, there has to be some brands, you know, which are in his entire shopping domain, right? And those brands would actually signal you that where and how you have to make a purchase, right? These brands would be in your list in order to identify if the first one is not available, I'm definitely going to go for the second one, right? So logo is very important for the brand, of course. So we all understand that whenever we are thinking about a brand, we are thinking about certain product lines. So I'm thinking about a shoe, I might thinking about, you know, Puma, I'm thinking about Nike, I'm thinking about Adidas, right? So these are the brands which are positioned in my mind. These are the brands which have taken their important and critical, significant place in my mind. And based on this, I would be taking my decision, right? So yes, these are brands and they would stay in my mind before I decide. Now, the question comes in my mind. Now, I really want every one of you to answer this question to me. Yes, this is a simple poll which I have created for you. The previous slide, I have just given you one simple way to identify the brands, right? That is Apple, Nike, Coca-Cola and so on. These are the brands. Now in the next slide, when you talk about the poll, why do you consider a product to be a brand? So there are specific criteria in my mind, right? You know, specific things in my mind which would actually make me decide whether a particular product is a brand or not, right? Why do you consider this particular product a brand? Either just think about it before you answer my question, because I want to explain that further to you. Is it because that the kind of a reputation that brand holds that matters and that identifies a product as a brand? It is because that particular product has been identified by me or being recognized by me, so it is a brand. Is it because I consider the quality to be supreme, so I consider that particular product a brand? Is it because the particular product line has some unique features to offer, so I consider it a brand? Similarly, it goes with identity and values, the kind of advertisements these brands come up with, or maybe the kind of market presence these brands have made in the market. So what is it basically? Out of these factors, why do you consider a product to be a brand? Just think about them. All of them have important reasons. Now I have people talking about that brand reputation really plays an important role. So maybe you're buying the Apple iPhones, right? Phones, just because of the brand reputation it has in the market. Or maybe because some of the people say, no, I'm not buying it because of the name. I'm buying it because of the quality. Somebody says, I'm buying Nike because of its unique features, because it keeps on innovating with the product line. So I do not see the name, but I see the quality. Now see, understand students, the quality can come either with a name or without a name. That's where I want you to understand the basic difference between what is a brand and what is not a brand, right? Maybe when you go, like, you must have visited with your mom to Atta Chakki, right? And you buy Atta. Or maybe you buy Ashirwad Atta. So there is a difference between the two. But you would not say the quality of atta which you buy from Atta Chakki is not good enough. Selection of the wheat, right? You have different quality of wheats basically, and that's ground in a format which gives you the maximum benefit without keeping aside the values of or the effectiveness of the atta. So what happens is that you cannot say the brand which has a name in the market would give you the maximum benefit, right? But of course, when the person, now let me talk about my Atta Chakki here, right? He's a person now who is working
in building up his brand. Initially, he used to give us in a very white packet, being able to increase the footfall. So what he started doing is he started giving his name on the packet. So what is he doing basically? He is actually now branding his product. Slowly and gradually, once he gains, the margin has increased, he might go ahead with the other relevant activities in order to make his presence in the market in terms of maybe advertising, in terms of pamphlets, in terms of the other marketing strategies. So this is how he will be able to build up his brand. It's very simple. It's not that difficult. But what we need to understand is that the brands, they are not built up overnight. You need to have a lot of time. You need to give a lot of dedication to it. And then slowly and gradually, different products which you offer would be recognized by your customers as brand. So maybe when I talk about my Atta Chakki Wala, he's not giving me only the wheat flour, right? He might offer me some more products, right? So each and every product I'm talking about right now would have a branding, right? And what I'm going to do is the umbrella branding. So the company is one. It is to some extent, yes, but it is more important for you to build up that brand in the mind of consumers. Why? Because company is offering the variety of products to you. Might not be relevant to each and every type of consumers in the market. So what I do is that I majorly focus on those product lines. I hope that distinguishing point is clear, right? Because if there is a clarity on that, it would be easy for you to perceive and correlate what exactly I'm saying and with what you see around in the market. Yes? Okay. So now, let me go to the next slide now. This poll is over and we understand. Are all products brands, as I was discussing about? No. Actually, all the products cannot be considered as brand. As I gave you an example of my Atta Chakki Wala, the kind of generic products we have. I think whenever you talk about in medicine, if you have a fever, you say paracetamol. So paracetamol is not a brand, but maybe the Calpol which you are taking is a brand, right? Or Dolo, which you take, is a brand. So when you have a name associated, and every one of us know that, right? That this is a paracetamol, but a name has been assigned to you. So one is a generic name, the another one is a brand name, and it is coming definitely from a company. So of course, there is a difference between the two. The reputation really matters a lot, as I have written, the perception. This is what is creating a brand, the reputation. I want everybody to talk about me. It is based on my reputation. I want my brand to be perceived in a different way because I'm competing with so many competitors around in the market. So I want to be, that is only and only possible when my brand is coming up with their brand stories. Okay, that's where the relevance of brand comes into the picture. That's where the relevance of branding by the companies come into the picture. Now, this is again one of the poll. So let me not launch the poll. Let's just try and understand it in this way because that consumes a lot of time. So which of the following is not considered a brand? Nike, Coca-Cola, generic store brand products, Apple, or McDonald's? Now that's where, I want you to really understand the basic difference between what the company is and what the brand is, right? So, I am not going to read out everything for you. I mean, the slide is there, the presentation will be shared with you, and you can refer to this presentation once you go back from this webinar, right? Just try and understand that what exactly distinguishes a brand from a company. As I told you earlier, right, that you have different product lines, right? And there is a company offering it, right? So these product lines, they are given a different name. They're given a different recognition. They're given a different kind of positioning in the mind of consumers. So that's where and that's how the brand is created. All right. So definitely, company is a legal entity, but when you talk about a brand, it is about a reputation you're talking about, right? When you talk about a brand, you're talking about what has been offered to you by the brand, its values, its personality, or maybe the kind of promises the brand is making to you. That is more relevant for me. When you talk about a company, it might say that you have a different kind of a formal structure, but I'm not talking about any kind of a formal structure when it comes to a brand, because I'm talking about the feelings. So there is an emotional connect, right? Next slide, sir. These are some of the basic differences. You can definitely refer them later on. As I was saying, there is one company, but there are different product lines, right? And that actually distinguishes the company from the brand. Just think about it. You have P&G, Unilever, Coca-Cola Company. They all come up with different product lines. Procter & Gamble, it has Pampers, it has Tide, it has Gillette, Crest, Olay, and etc. Right? And these are all brands to me. I might not be knowing that maybe the Gillette is coming from P&G. I might not be knowing that maybe Johnson's Baby, not Johnson's because that the name depicts here. Neutrogena is coming from Johnson's & Johnson's, right? Or maybe Doritos, it is coming from PepsiCo, right? And Kit Kat, etc., etc. I might not be knowing it, and I might not be interested maybe as a consumer in knowing it. If the brand is well positioned in my mind, if I have a trust in the brand, if I have an emotional connect with the brand. So how is it going to matter to me? If I know that Maggie is giving me as per my taste, right? And it has come up, out of those controversies and back again with, those healthier options, I am really not concerned which company it is coming from. Yes, as the PGDM and MBA students, I would definitely and strongly recommend that you should have an idea about all those companies into the market with all the product lines. And we generally try to do that, right? We try to so many companies in the market. So each company with its different product lines, we create a mind map. It becomes easy for us to recall all the brand names with the companies they are associated with, right? So of course, this is very important. So now we are clear with it, right? The brands are created. The company, might be different. And the companies, they offer different product lines. And we should recognize those product lines in their own specific way. And why do we recognize them in their own specific way? Because they are emotionally connected with me. And I have a trust and confidence in them. And I then become a loyal consumer. That's where it happens. So the next slide talks about, this is what I wanted to bring in, because, what happens is, when you look at the Volkswagen, right? Which is a parent company of all these cars, which I have mentioned below. I might recognize Audi as Audi, right? It's pronounced, we call it Audi, but it's pronounced as Audi, right? So I might recognize this as a brand. I might not be really knowing that it is coming from Volkswagen, right? Talking about Bentley, Bugatti, right? And Lamborghini, right? So they have actually positioned themselves, right? Established themselves as distinguished brands. They do not really need to have the parent company's name with them to be recognized in the market or to be identified in the market. That is the, you can say the beauty of creating a brand. Once those brands are created, you really don't need the backup of it, right? Everyone, I hope you all understand that what is the necessity of creating that brand. Brand would individually do, in the market. It is going to individually attract the consumers. It is going to individually handle its business line. It is going to individually handle its clients. That's more than enough. So definitely, that's how we generally perceive and look at the branding concept. Branson Companies, again, it is a poll. We're not going to create this poll. Let it be, right? We have already discussed about what the brands are, what the companies are. But why? But why is a very big question. That why is it that we got to have, why is it that the brand is different and the company is different? And we just discussed about these because we build up the emotional connection. So we try to distinguish them because there is a different kind of an identity. So we want to distinguish them. Everything what we are doing with the brand has the stories revolving around it. Yes. So we are creating a brand image with a storytelling. Yesterday, in the webinar, we discussed the power of storytelling. And yes, your brand becomes more powerful if your story connects with the audience, right? And the brands, keeping that in mind, it comes up with a different storyline. Just think about the Coca-Cola secret formula. This is a story behind to understand that the kind of offering which Coca-Cola is making in the market, no other drink in the market, no other aerated drinks in the market can make to you, right? Why is it so? Let's try and understand. The kind of a secret formula which it has, this secret formula is kept with only few people, and this is not shared with everyone around. And why would I share my secret formula? If I share it, I will not have any kind of a unique selling proposition. My recipe would be out in the market, right? People would be exactly able to, replicate. Yes. So Shreya Ardhari says there is a trade secret and we should keep it with us. So that actually makes Coca-Cola, right, different from other aerated drinks in the market. Again, when you talk about the Apple's Think Different campaign, right, what were they talking about their Think Different? Go back to the era where we used to have the black and white movies, right, and the black and white pictures. So this is what has been taken by Apple's Think Different. Now we are here talking about the colored pictures, and this is where the Apple is coming up with those black and white pictures in the market back again, right? It is coming up, and doing it with some kind of, good recognized personalities in the market, right? And they are picturizing them. For example, they have done it with Adolf Hitler. They have done it with, some of strategies which once upon a time were taken up by the companies. So I want to do it slowly and gradually, but I want to do it in a very distinguished way. I still have the examples to share. But ma'am, how they are registered with Indian registrations without sharing their manufacturing processes? See, that's what I was telling you, right? The trade secret is a trade secret, right? You cannot share it with everyone, but that has to be shared with few of the people around, right? You need to tell that these are some of the ingredients which you will be using. But the way these ingredients are used, right? What has to be used before, what has to be used later, what is the composition of each one of them, that is not supposed to be disclosed, even if you want to take the registrations, right? So there is not the entire thing related to what and how you do it has to be disclosed. But yes, to some extent, in order to take that copyright, in order to take that patent, right, you got to give them some details about your recipe. I was talking about the previous examples here. We were talking about how these companies are there generally trying to, come up with different kind of campaigns so that they register themselves in the mind of consumer. I'm creating my brand image. That's how Apple has been doing it. See, Lego's brick resurgence, I wanted to talk about it, and Volvo's safety branding. How many of you know about the Lego brand? Lego, right? The Lego or Lego, whatever you call it, right? This is how it is known for based on the pronunciation. How many of you know about this brand? Kind of innovation or creativity to the younger generation, the children who are just trying to, use their creativity, and they are developing their creativity. So Lego's Brick Resurgence was a campaign which came up in the market in order to change its brand reputation and brand image. So they said, I don't want to be recognized as just one of the games available in the market, right? This is not going to give me any kind of position or any kind of, stability in the market. So what Lego started doing is, they said that we are giving you the building blocks, but these building blocks are going to improve your creativity and innovation. And that's what the child needs to learn right from the beginning. That is the main purpose of coming up with this kind of a campaign. And they started making the consumers understand and realize that this is where your child needs to work on right from the beginning. Again, in 1950s, what exactly happened? And why am I taking you to that back then? Because, there are certain innovations which took place there, and there were certain controversies related to those innovations. Volvo, when it came up with those 3-pointer seat belt, right? People said that this was one of the way through which you can actually increase the safety feature in your car, right? And absolutely, this was a very good innovation. But you know what? To the surprise, Volvo did not patented it. It said that I want to keep this feature definitely with me, but I somewhere realized that this feature might also work and give benefits to the other companies. And it's not just about companies. It is a kind of a benefit which ultimately will be passed on to all the consumers, So what is the necessity of keeping that patent with me? So let me patent, which was evolved by Volvo, and then they had the safety feature being used in the form of a seat belt, the three-pointer seat belt. So this is how, now what is happening here? Why am I quoting that example to you? This is a brand story, which I remember even now, right? When I talk about the Apple Think Different campaign, I remember this brand story. Why is it that I'm able to remember these brand story? Because they have left that kind of an impact on my mind that the brands are doing differently in the market. Either it is in the form of a campaign when we talk about Apple, or either it is in the form of some societal step which Volvo has taken in order to give safety to all its consumers in the market. Yes, there where the importance of branding comes into the picture. There and where, using all these strategies we just talked about, the companies are able to create the distinguished brand. So I know Volvo for its safety features, and I know that this company thinks about the consumers. I have created a brand. I have created my impression. I have created my position. And I'm sure that without doing anything further, I'm going to stay in the market. I'm going to sustain this market. Without doing further doesn't mean that I don't need to be innovative. I need to keep on playing with my product. I need to keep on doing the research in the market. I need to keep on understanding the consumer needs and demands. You know, this is something which is an ongoing process. But I know that this is how my consumers have started perceiving me. And this is the perception which I have made in the consumer's mind. Once that perception is created, the only thing which the company needs to do is to sustain that perception. That's what I mean to say. You know, the perception, who have tried to create a perception. Yeah, there are two important things, again, which I'm talking here. One is either you create a perception or you change the perception. So here, every one of you, right, just think about it. Can you recall the name of a company which has been able to change the perception in the market? That means I'm basically talking about rebranding. Yes, rebranding is also important. When you're talking about branding, rebranding is also important. Yes, I have created a perception, but now I feel that I need to change the perception. Yes, I know this is how the people in the market have started perceiving me, but I want them to perceive me in a different way now. So yes, at one point of time, we started thinking about Maggie, which is not suitable to be given. But do you remember the advertisement which came later and started talking about, a mother telling the entire family that initially I used to think that, I was giving something not good to my kid, but now, I really feel that it has a lot of ingredients which might be really good for my kid's health. So I'm not doing anything wrong. So we changed the perception. Go back to that advertisement. I cannot narrate the entire advertisement to you right now. Go back to the advertisement. So that's how they actually recreated themselves. That's how they actually rebranded themselves, right? Any more examples here? Any more examples? Do I really need to rebrand? Do I really need to reposition? Those companies who were trying to change the pattern in the Indian market? Yes, Dove Really Beauty. Absolutely, good enough. They're actually changing the perception. Okay, fine. The brands are very smart. You don't accept me this way? Let me change the branding concept, right? Okay, you don't want to take me as, ready to go kind of a breakfast? Let me change the concept. It is nutritious, right? So, or maybe it is a healthier option. So that's how companies started playing with your mind. They started changing the way they want the public, the audience to perceive them like. Every startup needs rebranding in the first year to renovate or to increase the sales. See, whenever you talk about startup, right? Number one is the startup needs to establish itself with some kind of a branding concept, right? Some kind of a positioning concept. Slowly and gradually, when your startup grows, slowly and gradually, when there are more inclusions in your startup, right? Because there will be more varieties, you will be working on different platforms. So you want your consumers to think beyond what they were thinking initially about you. The startup has to grow, right? It has to prosper. It would come up with different inclusions. So there and where you need to change the perception now, or you need to expand their perception. So of course, again, rebranding is required. Yes, if it is related to startup, that really goes well. Yes. Can I see more messages if they are coming in? You know what, students? The best way to learn is, number one, to listen carefully. Number two, to ask as many questions you have in your mind. And number three, answer all the questions being asked. And I'm telling you, if you follow these steps, learning would be at a different level. If you stay connected with me, ask many questions. I think we're going to interact with each other. We'll do a lot of brainstorming, and we might come up with something which is different. Okay. These were some of the challenges, Maggie, Tanishq, and etc. The New Coke. I hope you know what exactly happened with New Coke, right? Because they actually changed their entire product line. You know, the Coke, it really thought, you know, it conducted a research in the market, you know, that time when they thought of launching something different in the market. So they thought of introducing a research. They found that people would be more interested in having some, you know, maybe, you know, as far as the sweet content in the drink was concerned, they wanted some kind of changes to be made. And keeping that in mind, the company came up with New Coke. Yes, absolutely. But it was not liked in the market at all, right? And yes, the product did not really do well. And company again had to come back with their old product, right? They said that the market is not yet ready to accept the New Coke. Okay, so there are a number of examples, the number of challenges the company came across, the different companies in the market, you know, came across. What do you think the pricing plays its role like? You know, what is the role of pricing? How the products are being priced? What is the relevance of determining the right pricing strategy, right? Just think about all these questions. Do you think it is important for you to decide on the right pricing? Do you think there are certain factors to be considered when the company decides on their pricing strategies? Of course, there are so many things, you know, to be considered. It depends on demand and supply. Yes, definitely it depends on demand and supply. Okay, but the demand will be generated, right, in future. So let me talk about a product line which has to determine its initial pricing. Then what exactly would come in your mind? According to the demand? Okay, next. Anybody else? Is it only the demand and supply which is going to determine the pricing? Government policy, Shreya? It is the brand which is there in the consumer's mindset, the kind of position you have made in their mind, right? Of course, that plays a very, very important role. Product specifications, okay? So when you talk about product specifications, Naveen Bhagirwal, value-based, Vivek Kumar, right? So when you talk about any specifications, so I know it very well that when I'm determining the pricing, I would look at the kind of features, the services, the facilities, right, which I give to my consumer. Based on that, I would be determining. Or maybe I would say it is the value proposition. What is value proposition? So now when you are paying something, definitely that's a monetary value which you are giving. Please, the previous slide, sir. Right? And when you pay something in a monetary value, I'm talking about the first quotation, price is what you pay, value is what you get, by Warren Buffett. When you pay something in a monetary form, you get something as value. Either that value is in terms of service value or maybe a product value, right? So based on the, you know, the level of value which you get from a product, the customer gets ready to pay. And this is how generally the companies in the market, they determine the pricing. If I'm able to give value proposition to my customer, right? customers would be ready to pay my price, right? In that situation, my negotiation becomes stronger. Just think about it. On what basis these companies, they charge their price? They determine their price, or they believe that this level of pricing would be accepted by the consumers in the market. The basis is number one, the kind of value which I deliver and the kind of value which is perceived by my consumers. Very, very important. And this would make me determine my price. You have the beautiful examples from the market. Whenever you go and buy a smartphone, why am I ready to give those 80,000 and 1.2 or 1.5 lakhs, for OnePlus? I'm not ready to give for OnePlus, but I might give it for iPhone. I'm not ready to give it for, Samsung, but I might give it for iPhone. There is a value proposition which is associated with pricing. And this value proposition is based on how my consumers are perceiving this value. It's not about being the cheapest. So when you compare different brands in the market, I might not really consider the cheapest brand, but I might consider the one which is giving you or giving me the maximum benefit. According to one of I couldn't really find the relevant source to it, but this was a very interesting statement. It's not about being the cheapest, it's about being the best in the market, right? You give them the maximum value proposition, you give them the maximum benefits, you give them, you try to prove yourself better than the other competitors in terms of whatever, features and whatever platform you talk about. If you're able to do it, you will be perceived in a different way. If you think good design is expensive, you should look at the cost of bad design by Ralph Specht. Very, very good statement. Just look at the statement, every one of you. Just think about what it is trying to tell you, right? For example, it's very clear. If I invest in a good design, it is definitely going to be expensive for me. Why will that be expensive? Because if I want to create a good design, I want to have a good research and development team with me. It costs me. I want to have people to manufacture it. It costs me. I got to have the relevant and good quality materials, right? Ingredients with me. And that costs me again, right? So whenever you are taking a decision to design any good product in the market, this is definitely going to be expensive for you. But now, keeping that in mind, that if I'm creating a good design product and if it is costing me, I should not be designing a good quality product. No, there would be repercussions of not giving the quality which is expected by your market. The cost of bad design is the kind of perception which the public is going to make about you. In competition, the position which you will hold next, how you will be perceived, and slowly and gradually, how much market share you're going to lose just because your design is not good. There are ample number of following repercussions of the same. So maybe at one point of time, you might save your amount, you save your costing of not developing an expensive design, right? But simultaneously think about it, that the kind of losses you might incur if you're not able to give the right value to your consumers. Such a beautiful statement. Therefore, it is said that never think about, anything in a short term. There is always a long-term visibility which needs to be clear in your mind. You got to have a very clear vision. Where exactly I want to be, right? And that would help you in determining your right pricing. So as a company, when it is done, it is not just done on the demand and supply, right? It is done on a lot of other factors which are intriguingly looked into and researched on by the company from time to time. This is very, very important and relevant. Okay, next slide, sir. Yeah, I really want to see something here. Now, Paul, how do you perceive the relationship between price and quality in products or services? This is a very important thing because there are some people around who might say high prices indicates high value, high quality. Somebody would say price and quality, they're not necessarily related with each other. Now, see, understand what is my basic purpose of asking you this question is, uh, we become brand conscious, right? Again, we started and from where we started our discussion, right? Branding. Now, branding actually is something which is incurring a lot of cost, right? When you want to create a brand, you're doing a lot of research. When you want to create a brand, you are incorporating a lot of inclusions, and that might really increase your costing. Now, of course, the quality might remain the same, right? Maybe there is no difference between a branded and a non-branded product, but it's not maybe, but the branded products will definitely charge you higher than the non-branded product, because the kind of cost they incur on different things, right from the research and development to the packaging, to the product design, to the package design, to the color theme, to the teams, who are involved in marketing and so on. Of course, this involves a lot of costing. And as a result, the brand is created. But that doesn't mean that they both would reflect, different level of quality. As I give you an example, if I go to Atta Chakkiwala and I'm buying something, maybe the quality remains same, even if he's doing a branding, right? The price and quality are not necessarily related. So some of you have given me that answer clearly, and higher price indicates higher quality. So you might be thinking that, yes, I need to buy the iPhone as compared to OnePlus, or maybe Samsung or Vivo or Oppo, right? But just think about it. Now in a sequence I was talking about, if I'm talking about iPhone or maybe OnePlus, right? There is a difference in the quality people perceive, but the difference in the quality is also coming up with the difference in the price. If I'm talking about OnePlus, Samsung, or Vivo and Oppo, so you would be able to place each of these brands in some level and in some hierarchy. I'm 100% sure about it. So somewhere, maybe you would realize, because the company is charging me less if I talk about Oppo, and a company which is charging me high, for example, if I talk about OnePlus or maybe iPhone, definitely these two companies. This is a kind of a perception which the market makes slowly and gradually over a period of time. It doesn't click you there and then, right? It is the perception which has built up the way you have seen the market performing, right? The way you have seen the consumers responding, the word of mouth, right? The way you have seen the pricing and qualities association with each other over a period of time. So Nitin says, people who pay more attention to the product. If you pay more attention, the product automatically becomes of a higher quality in your subconscious mind. Okay. We are playing with a neuromarketing. It's a neuroscience basically, right? And there are certain things which definitely work at the back of our mind, in the subconscious mind. Now, let me relate it with the advertising. When you see a lot of advertisements, right, the frequent advertisement of a particular product, that product gets registered in your mind strongly. It makes its position, right? So maybe you try to perceive the product of a high quality because now you've seen that product everywhere around. Though the company's strategy is to make its presence everywhere in the market. One of the most important P of marketing, place, making your presence everywhere. You should be available at the right place at the right time, right? So that every time when the consumer looks around for that product, it's always there and it's always visible. So automatically what we feel is, since there is a lot of availability of the product, that means that product is demanded a lot. And we perceive it as a good quality product because that's how the quality is perceived to be when it is demanded more. Right? Of course, and it is nothing is all about playing with the mind of the consumers. The way you do it, the way you play with all the 7 P's of marketing, I mean, that would determine that how strong you are with your marketing efforts and strategies. Okay, coming to my next slide. Again, a very simple poll. I'm not creating a poll again back. Just give me your answers in the chat box. That would be more than enough. Now, when you think about considering about buying a product, right? How much Does the price influence your decision making? Right? Is price the primary factor while influencing your decision? Or maybe it is the significant factor, but not the only one, not the only factor. Price is just one of many factors I consider, but of course, it is not that significant enough. Or maybe you can say that price has little or maybe no influence on my decision making. But if there is something, right, which is an expensive item, which requires a lot of brainstorming, or we call it a high involvement product, as we discussed yesterday, we have two different categories of products in the market. One is low involvement product and the other one is high involvement product, right? So maybe with the high involvement product, pricing will not be a primary factor for me. Maybe if I'm buying a car, I'm looking at the safety feature. That is my concern. So I might really not mind paying extra amount for security, for safety. So there are different considerations at different point of time with the different product lines. Just think about it once. In certain situations, the price becomes the primary factor, which might influence your decision, right? Because if I'm buying a packet of chips, if one is not available, or maybe if there are two, I might say, let me see, one is available at rupees 20, the other one is available at rupees 15. Let me try the second one. You would not really mind it. And it is also coming at a low price. Let me try it. What difference is that going to make? Right? Maybe you like the taste, so you would go for the trials. Price is definitely a significant factor, but not the only one, right? So I might say that I'm liking the taste of the other one. Pricing is definitely the important factor, a significant factor, but I might change my decision based on the other criteria as well. Maybe the content size, right? How much content do I get? Or maybe it is the quality, or maybe there are certain other significant factors also. It's availability, right? I'm interested in developing my taste to that product at all. Price is just one of many factors I consider. Of course, there are situations like that, and price has little to no influence on my decision, as I gave you an example of a high involvement product. So my dear students, what I exactly mean to say is that whenever you are taking your decision about whether to consider a price or not, it depends, number one, on your mindset. It depends on when you are buying it. It depends on for whom you are buying it, right? It depends on whether that is a high involvement or low involvement. Is that clear to everyone? So basically, when you look at all these points, they have a very significant role to play, but at different time spot. Learning can be related to the, maybe the first year course, which is emphasizing on all generic subjects. The learning is related about market. The learning is related to the business, the economic situations, the political environment as well, because we need to consider each and every factor, right? And we need to focus on all the factors because all of these factors combined together enhances your learning, right? So your focus should be on learning. Spend a lot of time, reading books, articles, spend a lot of time reading news, spend a lot of time in grabbing the knowledge about all different domains, because that would really help you in increasing your vocal skills, right? And that's what we believe in. If your vocal skills are strong, you will be there on the stage without fear. If your vocal skills are strong, you will be able to appear for your group discussion with a lot more confidence. And when it comes to your interview, because you have read about so many things, I think you will be able to crack the interviews. So it's about learning. Do not consider how much time you have to dedicate, right? Forget about the timings when you're in the MBA program. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.